Good morning, everybody. Thanks for joining us today. Nice to have you here. We are going to have a fun meeting this morning. We're really excited to have some time to introduce you with Mary Lusick from PCs for People. PCs for People is a longtime partner of Blind Foundation. We've been really fortunate and just so lucky to have them in our state and be able to work with them across the state. And we've had really good experience, and our communities have as well, partnering with them to bring devices to people that need them in your communities. It's part of the kind of package of being a blind and broadband community, is this partnership with PCs for People. And this morning, what we're going to do is mostly hear right from Mary about the program, about the resources they have available, and then how you guys can take a next step to bring this opportunity to your communities. So we'll have, Mary's going to kick us off with sort of an overview of the role of her organization in the work that you're doing. Then we'll be sure to have plenty of time at the end for any questions. Mary's already said, give me a call if you have any questions. We will be recording this, as Mary said, so you can share it with others on your team if necessary. So thanks again for joining us. With that, Mary, I'm going to turn it over to you.
Awesome. Sounds good. Thanks, Bernadine. I'm going to share my screen here. Okay, I gotta ask, can everyone see it? Perfect. Awesome. So I'm excited to be here. Like Bernadine said, we have been a longtime partner with the Blind Foundation. This is like one of my favorite projects to work on because I get to meet people all over the state and get out of the Twin Cities and get to see more of our state. So I'm excited to be here. So PCs for People, we've been around for over 20 years. We're headquartered here in St. Paul. Within the last few years, we have had significant growth. So we are a national organization now with locations in Colorado, Georgia, Illinois, Maryland, Missouri, and Ohio, as well as here in Minnesota. So we definitely have a national reach when it comes to connecting homes to computers and internet service. And so it's really exciting that we can touch every state in the country because we do ship devices out to states where we don't have offices, which is really great. So as it says here, we're a national organization working to bridge the digital divide with affordable computers and internet, like I said, and then we also have responsible e-waste recycling and digital education. So all of our devices are donated to us from different businesses, government agencies, companies, and we either responsibly recycle that equipment, which means that every piece that we bring in is reused. So we keep millions of pounds of e-waste out of our landfills, which is really cool. And if we can't, so we either recycle it or then we refurbish the equipment. And so then we're able to put that equipment back into communities that need computers. And then we also have some digital education. So each of our locations do have a couple of people dedicated to, helping people, as simple as how to set up your computer, how to properly use a mouse, to building a resume and how to use Excel. So they do a lot of virtual digital education sessions, which is really great. But we also have them in our store so people can come in and get the education as well. So the clients that we serve, as you can see some of the stats here, nearly 40% of the people we serve have never owned a computer before. Which is very significant. And 67% currently do not have one at the time that they receive one from us. So the average household that we serve, their income is just over $15,000 a year. 63% are unemployed at the time of receiving a computer. And then 89% reported that the cost is really the barrier to obtaining reliable technology. So here's our impact since 1998. That's when our organization started. As you can see, the numbers are pretty significant. So we've served over 500,000 people. We've distributed 267,000 computers. We've recycled 9 million pounds of e-waste and then connected 77,000 homes to the internet. So our work really supports digital equity, workforce development, and the environment. So digital equity is, putting the computers back into the community, getting them connected to the internet service, and then giving them the resources that they need to properly use the equipment. If they have a computer and they have internet service, but they don't properly know how to use it, then it's pretty much useless. They need to know how to be successful with their equipment. Workforce development, obviously our computers can help families or individuals get jobs and get job training, but our recycling warehouses employ adults with intellectual disabilities, so we have a very diverse background when it comes to employing individuals. And then the environment, so again, if our donations are not reusable, we'll recycle every component. So that was just a quick high-level overview. Obviously, if you want to read more about our history, you can go to our website, or happy to have a conversation with you as well. The exciting part is that we will be distributing computers to 50 individuals within your community. So you will work with us to distribute desktop computer sets. So the computer sets come with the computer, a flat screen monitor, keyboard and mouse, a Wi-Fi adapter so the computer is ready to go and be connected to the internet, and a webcam. So those are very important now as everything is virtual, and so that will also be included. The computers are loaded with Windows 10, LibreOffice, which is an open source form of Microsoft Office. So the files are compatible, and it's a great free service for people to have word processing and spreadsheets and essentially PowerPoint. Malwarebytes, CC cleaner, and then each device has a 90-day warranty. So it says that we'll distribute 50 computers, but we will actually give you 53. So you'll have 3 extras and 3 extra of accessories in case if anything breaks, then individuals can then just swap it out with you. So eligible recipients, individuals are typically 200% or below the federal poverty line. Households with children enrolled in free or reduced lunch are good options, or any individuals and families receiving services from a social service organization. So we actually distribute equipment to individual households, and then we do work with tax exempt organizations as well. We can provide nonprofits with computers for their office, or a lot of times they buy in bulk from us to then distribute to the people they serve. So basically any low-income individual can be eligible for a device. So distribution planning, again, this is very high level. After today, I'd love to have a one-on-one conversation with each community where we can go more in depth with the details. I don't want to overload you with too many details, but essentially you will designate one point person from your community to work with me directly. So basically, a lot of times how it starts is I will start with one of you, and depending on what your role is within the community, we'll continue working together, or you'll introduce me to somebody from a nonprofit or a school, a place that you think could really benefit from these devices. A lot of times what we'll do is work directly with the school, and then all the students who are on free reduced lunch, up to 50, those families will be the ones that qualify for a computer and get a computer. Sometimes we work through a library or a nonprofit, and they will find the families. So again, I'll go into this in more detail in a follow-up, but just kind of start thinking about, who in your community might be in most need. And it could also be some people from the school, some people from, that get services from a food bank, again, from a library. So it can definitely be a mixture as well. So keep in mind that I'd like to start planning your distribution about 2 months or more before we distribute the computers. Like I said, all of our computers are donated. So, we have to refurbish the computers, get them cleaned up. So they're essentially like new. And so that does take some time. And then also just for our, planning, we just like to have more time than less. And so hopefully, with that time frame, we can do a lot of these events in the summer when the weather is nicer, or in the fall for back to school time. So just kind of start thinking also, when would be a good time for your community to distribute computers. So once all that is figured out, the point person that you assign will sign these families up through a Google form that we have shared with you, so we can get those recipients into our system. And then when we distribute the computer, it's very, very simple and seamless. The day of the distribution, we ask that you would find about 2 to 3 volunteers that could help out. So that's helping carrying the device to someone's car, managing the line that people are standing in. It could be many different things, but it's nice to just have some extra hands during that time. So, and then also this point person would distribute any remaining desktops. So any that, if a family couldn't come pick it up that day, you would then set up time or work with somebody to set up time to have them come pick it up at a later date. Then also, because we have that 90-day warranty, it is always nice to partner with a local computer shop or, any sort of tech repair shop to honor that warranty, because, we're not just down the street from all of you. So if something does go wrong and you are out of those 3 extra computers, instead of shipping it to us, it's always nice to have someone local where a family can drop off their computer. And so that's pretty much it as far as like high level. Here's a nice little quote that I wanted to include. But here's my contact information, and I know a lot of you probably have questions, so I'm happy to answer those. And then hopefully that can spark some more conversation.
Super. Wow. Thanks so much, Mary. That's a really attractive slide set, and it's such great work you guys do. I love seeing those photos from the actual distribution sites. It's really a lot of feel good. I know that our communities in the past that have gone through this have enjoyed the opportunity to really do something that makes an immediate, tangible difference in people's lives, and it's often a good opportunity to show your community that you're coming together for the betterment of people who in need. So, see, we got a couple of hands up right there. Steve, let's start with you.
Yeah, thanks a lot. I'm wondering about the e-recycling part of the program.
Mm-hmm.
How we have an issue in East Central Minnesota with where do we get rid of that stuff? We can get rid of it at our recycling center at a cost, but is there a cost to this, or how does that work?
Great question. Nope, all of our recycling are free pickups. We are NAID certified, which means that we have the highest level of data security for our data destruction as well. And so what I would do is connect you with our business development manager, Rebecca, who works with all the communities that recycle with us, but it is free, and our truck will come pick it all up for you.
So we have a couple of recycling centers in our county. Mm-hmm. So if I have our solid waste guy get in touch with you or somebody at your organization, yep, we can get that set up so they got it separated and whatever.
Yeah, that sounds great. And you can direct them to me, and then I can pass them along to the right person.
Okay, and I'll let those two work out what is considered e-waste and all that stuff. But
yeah,
all right, thank you.
Many times we see the counties like Pine County that would benefit from a program like this, then decide to start to donate the computers from the county to the PCs for people that then can be turned into refurbished computers, because those tend to be pretty good computers and refreshed on like a 5-year basis or so.
We moved into our building in 2007 or 8, and we're just finishing up, changing out some of those computers.
Super, Steve. Hey, Mary, why don't you take your PowerPoint down now.
Oh, sure.
The folks got their number. Let's go to you, Vince.
Perfect.
Wow, thank you. Mary, I got a lot of questions, but I'll start with just a couple. First of all, on the recycling side or on the acceptance side, do you take laptop computers as well or just desktop computers?
Absolutely, yes. Laptops are very popular.
So, but you do not distribute any laptop computers,
For
at
this,
least under the program.
yeah, this specific project, we're doing desktop computers, but we do have laptops available for other distributions.
Okay. So one of the things that you said was a lot of these computers go to families that maybe have never had computers before. My guess is that when they get this box of stuff home, they may have a lot of questions on how to set this up and get it to operate, or if it's not operating correctly. Is there a tech line somewhere or something that they can call for assistance with that, or?
Yeah,
How does
great
that work?
question. Yeah, so when they receive their computer, we have a packet that shows how to set everything up, and we will go through that with them quickly at that time and make sure, it makes some sense to them anyway. And so they have all the resources they need to set it up. And then we have a customer service line that they can call if they run into any issues or have any questions at the time.
Sometimes the community set up their own kind of tech sponsor for that, the library or a local tech support company, or sometimes a school coordinator will take on that role. So make it a little friendlier and local for that kind of initial tech support kind of activity.
Yes, great point. Thanks, Bill.
The reason the laptops have higher value than the desktops. And so in this program with Blandon, we've chosen to maximize the number of devices as opposed to have laptops. And the other nice thing about desktops is that they kind of are glued to the home, whereas then they serve the family and they don't just end up in the backpack of the first kid who gets to run out the door in the morning. Or
I'm so glad you made that point, Bill. I was going to ask you to do that about the role of the difference of a desktop and a laptop in a family. Again, we're trying to maximize resources for families. Matt, I see you've got your hand up there too. Go ahead.
Yeah, so the 90-day warranty, I know most of them are probably going to be distributed on the same day, it sounds like, but that warranty, when does that start? Does that start when they get the PCs, that distribution day?
Yep. The day they
Okay,
get it.
and then I know you guys talked a little bit about recycling, and if people have older equipment or something to recycle, is that something you guys kind of take back? And is that just laptops, desktops, or is it, printers? And, sometimes people got old monitors and stuff that we can't get recyclers to take. So,
Yeah, we can take all of that. And sometimes that's a great point. We can, at the time that we come to distribute, we can take stuff back as well. It's just nice to have a heads up of how much you think it will be. But if families have old equipment in their home and want to bring it when they pick up their new one, that's just fine as well.
okay. And then I guess the only other question I got was, so the honoring of the warranty, say a local company does honor that warranty. Say if that's parts or something, is that something you guys kind of work with them on? And I'm guessing labor, they kind of in kind, or?
Yeah, the labor would be in kind, but yes, for parts, they can work with us and we can ship that up if that's something that it needs. I would say we don't run into that a lot because we bring 3 extra full sets. Typically, because we don't see that many repairs that are needed to be done. So a lot of times they can just take from that extra inventory and everything's good to go. If there is no one in the area who, would be able to do that, we can still work with the family, of course. We're shipping it back and forth then. So as long as they understand that it will just take a little bit longer due to shipping time and all that, we can still manage that.
Okay, last one I got for you. So the guidelines of 200%, poverty level and the free reduced lunch is, I mean, do we ask people to kind of verify that, or we just kind of do an honor system with that, or?
That's a good question. If they're receiving services from, again, mentioned a tax exempt organization, or if they're enrolled in free or reduced lunch, we don't need to confirm that. And I would say a lot of times with these distributions, you're able to find enough families through one of those channels that you don't need to confirm that, because if they're enrolled in these services, they already are within that income bracket. So if it's just, if you know of a family who needs the help, it is good to confirm that with them if they're not enrolled in any sort of program. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes sense.
Vince, did you have another question? Go ahead.
Yeah, thank you. When it comes to then prioritizing who might get these, if we have, people signing up, are we supposed to be prioritizing families with children in school, or, what's your priority when it comes to that?
Yeah, good question. Usually we prioritize families who don't have any computer in their home. If there's some families that just need an upgrade, that's of course a priority as well. Yeah, it is nice to have children in the household because if they need their computer for school, but that's not necessarily, we kind of leave it up to you guys to confirm like who is most in need. And then if you are above 50 families, we can do a wait list. So if a family doesn't show up the day of the distribution and we just don't hear from them, then, someone on the wait list could get a device. But yeah, I would say, I would let you prioritize however you see fit.
So
If you
then
see
after
strong
the,
demand, excuse me, Vince, if you guys see strong demand and say, man, we could distribute 100 of these, you can use your own grant dollars from Blandon to buy additional devices.
Good point.
And
Yes.
so that's another way to say, well, we're going to take, if they're $100 each, then, we're going to go buy another 50 computers, $5,000. You can buy those computers and distribute them. One of the other things is now with the pandemic, so many schools have really delivered computers to kids. Doesn't mean that the families have computers, and so, but it's taken some of the burden of kids without computers off, and maybe look at other populations and workforce training programs or older adults and so on.
Vince, does that answer your question?
yeah, I just didn't know if it was limited to families with children in school, or if you were looking for some of these other populations that Bill just alluded to.
Yeah, well, I really appreciate the way you put it about what our goals are. This is really about your community goals. And the way we set this up, as Mary was trying to say, is that you guys get to decide within the parameters of income qualifying where you think those should go. And so, like Bill said, if the need for devices is greater than the 50, why, let's, that would be an option for you to purchase more. So, Janie, let's go to you with your question.
Awesome, thank you. I think some of what has been added on now kind of has answered it a little bit in just that. So we are one of the populations in our community that we're looking at trying to use these resources to support our seniors. And I was just feeling like, oh, that would be maybe, that feels like it would be maybe a little bit harder for them to qualify under the guidelines, but it sounds like we've got some flexibility there. So I think my other question is another thing that we had kind of talked about, being very optimistic that we are heading out of COVID and the pandemic, and some of that was creating some more shared spaces, possibly using some of these computers. But I think what I'm hearing now is that these devices can't be used to, for example, one of the thoughts was creating a small computer lab at the Senior Citizen Center where they could get education, where they could get some support. But I think I'm hearing that wouldn't be how we would utilize these tools. Is that correct?
We have done small labs in the past, taking 5 or 6 computers. So if that's a really big need for your community, I would say yes. Mary Bernadine, I know this is, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, go ahead, Mary.
Oh, I was gonna say, to Mary, sorry.
I know I flinch every time I hear Mary because I'm like, why are you asking me? Yeah, creating a small lab is certainly an acceptable use of these computers if that's what your community prioritizes. We've seen.
Yeah, and you can
that happen.
also, of course, if you were going to set up a computer lab of some sort, or you wanted to equip some kind of shared resource for community access and use, of course, the devices for that would be also an allowable cost in that project budget as well. You wouldn't have to use recycled PCs for people computers for that, Janie. You know what I mean? Like you could just budget that equipment as part of that community center. So those are choices that are open to you. Matt, you've still got your hand up there. I'm assuming if you have another question.
I always got lots of random questions.
Sure, go ahead.
So I guess if say we needed more than those 50, can we buy those from PCs for people? And then what does that cost kind of look like?
Yep, you absolutely can. These computers are budgeted at $110 each, and that comes with all the accessories.
Okay, yeah, that's very reasonable. So, and then the last one I got, which I'm sure I already know the answer to. One thing that comes up a lot as we talk about these computers is how do you get internet to the home? There's the FCC grants and stuff like that, and we could do something with the Blandon funds to help out with that. But is there anything you guys see a lot to kind of help with that?
Yeah, so we do have mobile hotspots available as well. They're great options if you are highly mobile or need to bring it, with you to, go study somewhere or, whatever. But they do have service like a cell phone, so they can be a little spotty. And the download and upload speed is not as high as, your in-home modem. So that is an option if people are interested in something like that. We are a partner with the, it used to be called the EBB plan, but it's the Affordable Connectivity Program now through the FCC. So they can register on there, and then it will pay for up to $50, I believe, for the hotspot. And our hotspots are $80. So they would have to pay that, the $30 then. And then our service is $15 a month. So that would be completely covered by the FCC plan. So then it's essentially free for them.
Okay, so the plan looks like your plan is $15 a month. Are we able to get Verizon service with that?
No,
Because we don't really get
unfortunately.
T-Mobile or anything like that out here.
Yeah, and that was going to be my next thing, is it's not always a good option for certain communities. It is the T-Mobile Sprint network.
Okay. Which is here if you're on top of a big enough hill, but that's about it. So. All right, thank you.
Of course.
And so sometimes we've seen in the past, communities try to work with their local providers, depending on, who your provider is, about trying to put together a subscription or a subsidy program in your local area as well. So that's always an option too for communities.
And most of the main ISPs are participating in the ACP program through the FCC. So I would look into that as well to see if they're offering that.
Good. Other questions for Mary? Mary, what's a good concrete next step? Are you just looking to get your email inbox full of emails from this crowd saying, I'm your gal, I'm your guy from Big Stone, for example?
Yes, so that would be great. If you could, someone from each community reach out to me. If I don't hear from you in the next, I would say, month or so, I'll connect with Mary to get your information, and I'll then be reaching out. But yeah, reach out to me. Let's set up time to, go over any other questions you have. I can go over more of the concrete details that, we weren't gonna go too deep into today, but let's talk about your community, what you're thinking, and then we can kind of set some plans based on that.
And Mary, I've seen you guys have that really cool plan to the date document. Would you say again how many weeks out you suggest beginning this planning process to the delivery date?
I would say about 8 weeks.
Mhm.
So if you're thinking right now, like, oh, I want to do an event in April, like, let's talk now. If you're not thinking until back to school time, that's fine. I would say still reach out so we can just chat through what that might look like, and then let's reconnect, in June or July.
Mhm. And you do have that nice sort of to-do list, right? For communities,
Yes.
like kind of in a box, like, here's what you need to do to have a successful
Yes.
distribution plan. So they're really good at hand-holding and supporting communities. too.
Yes, and that's something that I'll get to you when we talk.
Okay.
Mary, if people wanted to buy laptops using their grant dollars, what do those retail for?
Laptops have a little bit more of a range. They're typically between 150 to about 200. If you are wanting to add on bigger hard drives or, more RAM, we can add that on as well. That does come with a small cost though.
So we've seen communities use them to distribute to like first-time college student kind of audiences where a laptop would be a valuable kind of tool. So
yeah, and we can definitely do extra events if you want to. We typically, like if that was what Bill just brought up, if that's something that you were wanting to do, like a back to school, back to college type event, we could definitely set that up. We usually just ask if you're going to distribute 30 or more computers, that we can hold the event. Otherwise, we would just recommend doing your own sort of handout. So yeah, that's also another option.
And the final thing I would say is, and just to let you know, everyone know I'm a board member of PCs for People, approaching my 10th year on the board. So I would, as you think about your own community in raising the level of awareness about digital equity, the idea that you would make a pitch to your local governments or your medium to larger employers about becoming a donor to PCs for People with computers. That's the fuel that fires the machine. Without the computers, it's hard to get them out the other end. The computers that are being brought to the recycling center, there's some value there, but not, we consider that kind of trash. But the value is really getting computers from companies. Schools usually wear those out pretty well, but especially those like banks or healthcare providers, accounting firms, many times local governments are on a, if the computer is less than 5 or 6 years old, it could be really refurbished. After that, it gets more of a recycling kind of thing. So if you have major employers who might be interested in participating, or we've had many counties now switch to getting rid of their computers through PCs for People, and that's a positive thing too. So and especially since they tend to do them in batches, even if they're older, there's more recycling value. There's easier to pick up than the community drives. The recycling drives have the environmental benefits, but only a small part of the real benefit of refurbishable computers.
Good, thanks, Bill. Vince?
Do you accept Apple Mac equipment or just PC stuff?
We do. Yep.
Okay. So any Mac laptop, Mac desktop, you're open to those as well? Okay.
Absolutely. They are a little harder to refurbish just due to the iCloud. So what we recommend is if you think that it is quality to refurbish, we ask that you log out of everything because it stays password protected and then we can't get in to refurbish it. So that's the one ask. If you can't, no big deal. We'll just recycle it.
Good. Anything else? Not that this is your last shot at Mary. She's very generous with your time and attention, but here we all are, so. Well, this is a real, we're just so pleased to have this opportunity to bring this partnership to your communities. I hope this was a really fun way to start your day. And I know Mary will be glad to hear from each of you as we go forward. And our Mary's also here too to interface. So don't be strangers, everybody. Thanks for joining today and have a good rest of your day.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Yep, thank you.
Thank you,
Have a
Mary.
good day.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.